Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Bonnie.
We're the Playing with String organizing team.
Good morning. We're here with Tara from taraknitterbags today.
Hello! Welcome to my basement. In this heat wave, it has been an extremely welcome space because it is a little bit cooler than the rest of the house. So years ago when I started sewing, I was doing a lot of it upstairs in the kitchen and on the dining room and in the computer room, and my husband finally said, like, you're driving me crazy, get out of my way. So we decided that we would convert this space, which was actually just an empty room that I would use as a yoga space, into a sewing room. So we looked around to try to figure out what was the best kind of furniture set up for me, and it actually was helpful that I had been working on a dining room table upstairs because I thought this really works for me for cutting and sitting and whatnot. So that's ended up what we ended up ordering. I got these two pieces from RK Furniture, special order. And this is my cutting and sewing table, and then this is supposed to be one of those sideboards in a kitchen.
Nice.
But I've actually got all of my fabrics.
Nice.
This is a good score of
You're
stuff.
okay
Bonnie,
to
you're gonna love this one.
show.
Whoops.
Sorry, Bonnie.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, that's mine.
Cute.
When I get around to it, yeah. So I keep, so I've got all my fabric storage in here, so fairly well organized.
Nice.
Yeah, what's nice about having this space is that I can actually be working on something and just leave it. So I can work for a couple of hours and then I just get to walk away, but I don't have to clean up things or fold them and put them away. So it is actually a really, really nice space to have.
Nice. Yeah. And when did you start your bag adventure? Yeah.
So prior to sewing, I actually bought a lot of project bags from other makers. And I guess it was probably 3 or 4 years ago now. I've lost all track of time. I was actually looking for, this is my own personal stash here. I had bought this little pouch at the UNBC craft fair a few years ago, and I found it really, really handy for keeping my notions inside my knitting bag. And I thought, oh, this is great, but I only had one. And so I was looking around for other ones, and for some reason I just couldn't find any. So I decided, you know what, I'll make some for myself. I think my first batch of notions pouches, I made 14 of them.
Oh, nice.
And then, so I kept a couple for myself, and then I had said to Darlene at Top Drawer, you know, do you want any of these to sell them? And she said, sure, you know, and so it did very well there. And then I started going, oh, I wonder if I could try making a bag. And so then I started just making a couple of bags.
And you name all your bags, or most of your bags.
I have to name all of my bags now. I used to only name some of them. I used to write little phrases on the price tags when I was selling bags at Top Drawer. And one bag was a fish bag, and I just wrote "Here Fishy Fishy" on it. And then Danella, hi Danella, if you're watching this video, she said, oh my gosh, I love the name of that bag. She said, you have to name all of your bags from now on. And I went, oh my, okay, well there's pressure.
And you have some interesting stories about the fabric you choose. Some of your fabric is specially ordered or specially found, or
yeah, it's I'm always on the lookout for fabric. I do have a few Canadian online suppliers that I order from. You know, the fabric that I was showing earlier with the cats, this type of stuff. You can't really get this locally. There's nobody that's selling this type of thing. So I do buy a lot of my printed quilting cotton type stuff from Cappy's downtown, but a lot of this type of stuff I do need to order. I'm always on the lookout for unique fabric and high quality fabric, and something that when I look at that I go, oh my gosh, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that.
You told me about a friend of yours that contributed to your stash, and he gave
Oh, Jerry.
Yes,
Jerry,
I love that story.
If you ever watch this video, hi, Jerry. Yeah, there was a gentleman that I used to work with and he's since retired. He retired last March, and he used to travel up on business, and he was so well dressed. Like, he's just like the fashion of this gentleman, and he'd have these beautiful designer printed tops and whatnot. And I would always say to him, oh, I could make a bag out of that. I would always like, when you're not using that shirt anymore, I can make a bag out of it. And then one time he came up and he brought me this pair of corduroy slacks, vintage, that he'd had in his closet for over 20 years, he said. And what he said was that he's got all these relationships with these shop owners in Victoria that, you know, are like kind of on the cutting edge of all this stuff. And so I guess a couple of decades ago or more, one of those individuals had given him a pair of these corduroy pants and said, hey, I just want you, we're thinking of bringing these in. What do you think about them, right? And I guess he, you know, wore them once, wore them outside and realized that they had this electric blue base and then brown on top. So they look like a pair of brown pants, but when you go out in the daylight, they look like bright electric blue. And he's like, yeah, it's a bit, like, he's flashy, but he's not that flashy. So they sat in the closet for, you know, over 20 years. And then he brought them to me, and I made 2 beautiful bags out of it. Alyssa has one of them.
Oh,
Hi,
nice.
Alyssa. And Natalie has the other one.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's
cool.
awesome too, that you know the people who have them.
Yeah,
that you can still see those bags and remember him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually one of the things that I really like about having an Etsy shop, is that I know where everything goes. Right? So when somebody buys from me, they buy direct from me. And so either I know you personally or can meet you personally, or I know something about you via how I've sent a package to you somewhere in the world. So it's really nice to have that personal connection with the customer and with the bag. And anybody that has any of my bags will know that I tend to, you know, if I'm with you in knitting and you've got one, I tend to kind of grab it and look at it a bit. I like to check how things are holding up. Yeah. Because I'm pretty picky about my craftsmanship, so I just want to know how things are holding up. I'll be checking the seams and all that kind of stuff to know what's happening with something. So
where's the furthest you've sent one of your bags?
Oh, probably Australia.
Yeah,
there's a few in
nice.
Australia. Yeah, and then I've got a few in Portugal and a few in France as well.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
So have you got anything in progress?
Something that you can show us kind of the insides of.
Like the back sides of the secret place. Yeah. Sure. Okay, so I spent all day yesterday doing this. I was hiding in the basement and working with my scraps. I did post about that on Facebook, that I had a pile of scraps I was going to work with. I'm going to struggle to find a name for this bag. But Bonnie, this is very similar to the technique that I used for the scrap bag that you have. So just sewing them into strips and then piling them on top of one another. The secret is to try to work with what you have and not put anything too close together that's the same, but also balance out the colors. So, you know, it's a lot of planning and organizing in order to do something so random looking. Oh, the back side. So that's what it looks like. It's not all pretty, but it's not so bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
I try to make the backs look, you know, clean enough, and I think that shows the care that goes into the cutting and piecing things together. Everything's nice and even. So I think it does matter what it looks like on the back.
Even though you never see it, because your bags are lined.
Yes, yeah, all the bags are lined. I can show you something close up. Let me show you a lined bag. They're all lined.
Yes.
Yeah, and most of them have pockets as well. So this one I am extremely proud of. Those are all individual hexagons that I cut and pieced together using the sewing machine. You can hand sew hexagons as well. There's 2 different kind of ways to do it, but that would actually take forever, and there's no way it would look this nice either. So so I've got that one, and they're all top stitched in the color of the hexagons there.
Oh wow, yeah.
I'm really proud of this bag.
That is
beautiful.
Gorgeous.
And then the lining, again, there's a pocket with other little hexagons. The lining is the same color. And one thing that a lot of people, you never see my seams, you never see any finished seams. I hand stitch everything closed on the bottom. So it's not as good as machine sewing, but it looks pretty clean, I think, as opposed to just holding it together and zipping it across the top. So just one of the little things that I think of in terms of quality and the way that something should look.
Yeah. And your little tags that you got, let's see those too. There's one on that one.
And there's a story to that, and he's walking around in your feet there.
Ringo.
No sense of privacy.
No.
I'm kind of wondering, like you showed us this sort of in progress. I don't suppose you've got anything like kind of beginning to end that we could look at, sort of like here's the material and here's the cutting what I'm going to do and here's the or just describe the process, I guess.
Okay, so with this one, I had just enough of the rest of this grunge fabric, which is similar to the hexie bag that I made, but not enough of colors to make solids. So I thought I can do something patchy. So I had enough of this for solid lining. I don't tend to want to do patchwork too much on the lining of bags. I don't want them to be too plain, but I also don't want them to be too busy either. And then I thought, well, I'm going to do the tabs. So I had that. So and then I had a little bit of the green. And what I want to do is tie the outside into the lining somehow. So I thought it was perfect to incorporate these strips. And then I had just a little bit of each of these colors. And so I pieced them together in terms of what I had in order to get the size that I needed for the bag, which for this one is a 7x9. And then you take, again, my back sides, some fusible fleece, and you just iron it on so that it sticks a little bit to that. It doesn't stick great, but it doesn't need to. Well, yeah, it's actually sticking pretty good. But anyway, and then you top stitch over the top. So that's another thing that I'm really, really picky about. I pretty much top stitch everything, and I'm super picky about, that the thread matches and that the lines are all straight. So I take a lot of pride in that as well. And once that's done, what the next steps that I need to do on this one is I've got to notch out corners, squares here and at the bottom. And then once those are notched out, I attach the zipper. And then actually from there, it's just sewing the side seams and then squashing the bottoms and the tops to sew them to make them look like this. All boxed like that. So it's actually, I thought that this pattern was actually going to be quite tricky to make, but it was actually really easy. It's the Seemingly Sane pouch. You can find it on Etsy. She lives in, I think she's in Manitoba. Yeah, I think she's in Winnipeg. Anyway, I follow her on Instagram. She's so funny too. I did a little bit different. Hers doesn't call for tabs, but I just think that it's handy to have something to hang on to. And then it doesn't call for a handle at the bottom, but I needed a place to put my little label. So I thought that the handle is
and let's see that little label, because that one is a little different than your handmade by Tara.
Yes, it's the small one. So for my pouches and whatnot, that label for the bags would be a little bit overwhelming. I think it would be quite
out of proportion.
Out of proportion. Yeah, exactly. So I did manage it. So it's the same logo, but it just doesn't have the words on it. So yeah, and then it'll be done. Then I'll have these two pouches. One will be the stripes, and the other one will be the cats. And then those will go up in my shop.
Nice.
It's my intention to post those. So that could be by the time this video airs, they could be up there. So people could go on there and see the finished project.
How often do you post on Etsy?
Sometimes I'll post something the day that I finish it, if I want to drag out my box and take pictures, or sometimes I'll want to wait until I've got like three or four to do, and then I'll do them all at once. So yeah, no regular schedule, but if people follow my shop, then they'll get an update when I've posted a new item on there. So
nice.
Check back often. Favorite me and check back often.
Actually, I like the follow, because every time I get one of the notices, I go zooming over there to see if it's a cat or not.
the fallout. Well, there will be one more cat one. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to me today about what I do, and thank you for all of the effort that you put into the yarn crawl and the Fiber Fest every year. I'm so excited that I think that we're going to have one this year at the Fiber Fest.
Thank you for always being so enthusiastic about it as well. We love to have makers like you and other makers that we have this year, just being so happy. And
Yes,
Yeah.
it's been wonderful meeting some of the new people too.
Yeah, it has been really great meeting some of the new people, and I just think that this is growing every year. And yeah, the fact that you two do all of this on a volunteer basis, I don't know if anybody realizes that. Really, for the maker and fiber arts community in Prince George and Northern BC is a thank you on behalf of everybody.
Well, thank you. This was
Thank
a
you.
wonderful, wonderful discussion.